Dragi prieteni, bine ați revenit la emisiunea Esențe spirituale. Sunt Cristi Trenchea și din studioul Conferinței Moldova vă invit pentru următoarele 30 de minute să vedem cum Dumnezeu a călăuzit un tânăr care a trăit într-o zonă unde libertatea religioasă era îngrădită și care a reușit nu doar să-și păstreze conștiința curată și credința intactă, ci să devină un slujitor al Bisericii lui Dumnezeu. Mă refer la Artur Stele, actual vicepreședinte al Conferinței Generale a Bisericii Mondiale a Adventiștilor de Ziua, Șaptea. Accentul va cădea în episodul acesta pe providența divină, pe modul în care Dumnezeu ne călăuzește, uneori printr-un drum anevoios, dar la sfârșit de care să avem parte de bucurie și de perspectivă veșnică. În câteva momente vom intra în legătură video cu pastorul Artur Stele. Rămâneți cu noi în cadrul emisiunii Esențe spirituale. Elder Artur Stele, welcome to Romania, welcome to Spiritual Essence.
Thank you, good to be with you.
Here we are in the afternoon, almost evening. I know it's morning in US time here where you are. I hope you are healthy and this pandemic hasn't affected you much.
Well, it has not affected probably personally, but it has affected the way we work.
Please do tell us about the pandemic and the world church mission. How did it affect the mission and the life of the church as you see it?
You see, we have never in our history experienced that all of a sudden, unexpectedly, in almost 1 week times, all of our churches around the world were closed. And this was a big challenge. But the big blessing at the same time was the modern technology. And so what is very interesting, we had worships non-stop during the week, during the Sabbath days, from the very, very first Sabbath we couldn't meet together. And so we are very thankful to the Lord, and the attendance of church services via Zoom and Skype and YouTube has even grown bigger than it was in person. We have done a number of evangelistic initiatives, and they are going right now. So we are very glad how our church members and our church leaders, church pastors have, taken the challenge and have done something even good out of the problem. So we are very thankful in this regard.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Well, last time you told us a lot of experiences from the military service, so please develop some more, because I know that some people try to get to the nutshell, the core, the essence of spiritual teaching, and stories, real stories from a previous age could help us more than just cold text. So please tell us more about military service experiences you had.
My favorite biblical passage from my childhood is Romans 8:28, because we know that for those who love God and elected by Him, everything works out for good. And so I think I have seen it through my life. People sometimes, think to do you harm, but the Lord is able to take the harm and turn it into a blessing. The same happened with my education. My head teacher told me I have no future. I will, not be able to study in any college, no university, and so on. And the Lord helped me, not only that I went through pharmaceutical studies and it helped me in the military, But the Lord then opened later on the doors for me, and I was able to study in Germany, I was able to study in United States, and I had the best education this world can offer. So the Lord is, a God who turns problems into possibilities. And I think this was, my whole life is a witnessing for it. And the same was true when I went through the military service. So many times, my officers wanted to harm me, but the Lord, took it and turned it into a blessing.
Can you develop the military service experiences? Because, when you are a teenager, it's like the God was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But you are very young, and then there comes the time when the God of our ancestors becomes our personal God. Was military service that time for you, or did you had another experience?
Exactly what really happened. It is the military that, helped me to grow from the face of my parents to my own. After the military, I could say, now my own eyes have seen the Lord. When I was 16 years old, something happened in our church. It was in the country of Tajikistan. There were two young boys that have received an order, a military order, to appear on Sabbath and to start their military service. And they decided, no, we cannot come on Sabbath. This is a day of the Lord. We will worship the Lord, and instead we will go to the military office on Monday. So they came on Monday, they found the chief military officers, and they told them, here we got the order, but we couldn't come because of Sabbath. Now we came on Monday, and we are willing to serve our country. And the chief military officers told them, don't worry, go home, you will get another order. So they went home, they were very happy, and then in a week's time, they received another order. They opened it up, and it was again for Sabbath. And the same thing happened. They came again on Monday. The same military officer told them, don't worry, go home, you will get a third order. And it happened with the third order, the same thing, for Sabbath. And then they brought these two young people, the members of our church, to a court, military court, and put them in prison for 3 years. And after the 3 years of prison, they could again call them to the military service. So when this happened, I decided, I was 16, I was a teenager, I decided, well, in a couple of years, I would need to go to the military service, because this was the law of the country. Even if you have been a German, but living in the Soviet Empire, you had to serve. And so I was starting praying and asking the Lord, Lord, when the time comes, and I will be 18, and I will get the order to serve in the military, please make sure the order doesn't come for Sabbath. And so I was praying this prayer for 2 years. And in addition, I had another request. And I asked them, Lord, also help me that I will be sent to a place to serve where there will be at least one Seventh-day Adventist family. Usually what happens, in the military, they serve a lot of pork. And if there is close by living a Seventh-day Adventist family, they would find a way to bring you some bread or something else so that you would survive, especially in the beginning. And so my two prayers to the Lord, Lord, please, I want to be faithful to you. Help me that the military order would not come for Sabbath, and I would be sent to a place where there is at least one Seventh-day Adventist family. So for 2 years I prayed it. Then I turned 18. No military order came. And just before I turned 19, few months before, I finally got the order. I opened it.
What day
it was for Sabbath.
Was it? Sabbath.
And so this was a great disappointment in my life. I couldn't understand God. I was saying, Lord, I prayed for 2 years. I didn't ask a motorcycle. I wanted very much one. But I asked you, help me to be faithful to you. And now I'm called to come on Sabbath. So I decided to go on Friday. I went to the military officer. I came to him. I explained that Sabbath is a special day for me. I cannot come on Sabbath. And he told me the same thing he told the young people that I witnessed, when I was 16. He told me, don't worry, we will give you another order. But in my case, he didn't say go home and wait. He opened a big journal and started to list it, and then started to write a new order. And in a few minutes, he handed me a new order. I took it and I saw it was for Monday. So I was so happy. I went home on Sabbath with the youth, with my friends. We celebrated. The Lord helped me. On Monday, I came. So on Monday, when I came, they took us and brought us probably 10 or 15 kilometers away from the town. And there was a big gathering place of young soldiers, thousands of them, waiting for so-called buyers to come and buy them, or we call them this way, for military officers to come and take people and bring them to the place of service. And so on Monday evening, 2 buses came to pick up those who were supposed to come on Sabbath. This was my original group. This was the group I was supposed to be with. And so as we were waiting there, we didn't know where we will be sent, in what part of the country, and what kind of military units. The only thing we knew, if those who come for us will be in the green uniform, it will mean 2 years of service. But if they would come in the black uniform, it would mean 3 years of service in the submarine. And so on Monday evening, they came for those who were supposed to come on Sabbath. So I was very eager to find out who will pick them up and where they will go, because this was my group. I was supposed to be with them. And I found out they came in the green uniform. It meant only 2 years. And then I went out and I asked where they will be brought, and I discovered that they will go by bus, and they will go only 200 kilometers away from our home in a very warm place, and there were 2 churches of the Seventh-day Adventists.
And
so you could not
chance.
imagine a better place. And so I was thinking, if I would go on Sabbath now, I would be almost home, surrounded by Adventist youth. They would bring me food day and night. And so now I was still waiting. But what will happen to me is that I didn't go on Sabbath. So I came now on Monday, and now with my group. So we were waiting till Wednesday. And on Wednesday, you know, the officers came to pick us up. And they have been in black uniform, which meant 3 years submarine. So they put us, more than 1,000 soldiers, in a train. It was Wednesday evening, and we started the journey. And we were going the whole night, the whole day, night, day, night, day. On Sunday, we reached a place in the Nordic Pole. There was no land anymore, only sea. And this was a place where there was 6 months night, 6 months day, and it was a secret city, military closed city. No believers would be even allowed to visit, not to speak, to live there. And so this was my greatest disappointment in life. And the whole day we were walking because the place was not ready for us. It was very cold. We were coming from the south. Now it was November, very, very cold, very dark. The whole day walking from one place to another. And I was struggling with the Lord. I was saying, Lord, what happened? I prayed 2 things. Please, not on Sabbath, and please to a place where there is at least one Seventh-day Adventist family. You have betrayed me on both of them. And then I decided to be faithful to you anyway and came on Monday, and now I pay the price. You know, the whole day I was struggling, and I could not understand God's guidance and His leading. And finally, in the evening, when it was very late, they brought us in a big, warm place. Thousands of soldiers were waiting there, and different officers would come in, read a list of soldiers, and bring them to different peninsulas, islands in the Nordic Pole, and so on. And it was around midnight. They called 13 names, and it was my name there. And so when they called us, they brought us to a new place. We had to, you know, undress, take a shower, and then went in another room. They have given us, you know, underwear. In another room, they would give us trousers. Another room, they would give us jackets and so on. And then you walk from one room to another, probably 10 rooms. When you walk out, you all dress the same in the military units, you know, ready to serve. And they took us and they put us in a train, and the train went back to the city of Arkhangelsk. And when they brought us there, 13 soldiers, 2 guys were, you know, waiting for us. One in a black uniform, and one in a green uniform.
Did you have nightmares with the green and black uniforms, guys?
Well, this was the whole, for years I was, trying to hope and pray that it will never happen, that black guys would come in the black uniform to pick me up. And so these two guys were there, and finally I ended up in the, it was an aviation submarine. It's a very strange unit, but my unit was a construction unit, so it was a guy who led us out was in the green uniform. It was only people who couldn't speak Russian were there, those who have been already in prison and believers, because we were not trusted with weaponry and so on. We just worked and built. And actually what happened very interestingly, in the same place where I was sent, just a few miles away, 3 months before I came there, 3 Adventist families moved there. And so at the end, it has become a big blessing. But at the beginning, it was a big trouble. I couldn't understand the Lord. But, just to tell you one more story, how the Lord intervened.
Please.
The main goal, the main dream, while you're in the military, was, to serve these 2 years, the 730 days, and finally be able to go home. In my case, because of my belief, they did not give me a vacation. Usually a soldier after 1 year of service gets 10 days of vacation without counting the travel days. In my case, they told me, because you are not signed the documents that were needed there, and that you are a believer, we will not give you this privilege. You will serve without a vacation. And so I served 730 days non-stop. And so what I did, I had a piece of paper, and I drew myself a calendar, 730 days. And every day I would cross 1 day out, hoping that the day will come when all 730 days will be crossed out. And finally the day came. I crossed all of them out. But probably I had to serve around 10 more days or so after 730. And the chief military officers came to our group, and we were 13 who came in the same day, and he brought the release papers. And so he started to give out the release papers. But he had only 12. He gave to all my friends, but he didn't give it to me. And so I came to him and I said, "Sir, but I also finished serving. I served already 730 days, now even more." And he told me about the Sabbaths that I was not working. "How many Sabbaths do we have in 2 years? 104. He told me, "Since you did not work on Sabbaths, you have to work now 104 days more, excluding the new Sabbath days." For a young person that was dreaming for 2 years without any vacations to go home after 730 days, and now to hear 103 more days, it was like, dying. It was easier to die than to continue to live. So my friends, they were all rejoicing, getting the release papers, and now they had for a few days, to go and sign them everywhere, in the libraries that they don't own anything, in the cafeterias that they don't own anything, to every unit. And then when they finally have signed everything, they would receive the final document and be released. And so I was very sad. My friends were rejoicing, but I had to serve more. In few days, my chief military officers saw me and he said, "Artur, would you like to go home?" And of course I jumped up and said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You know what? I decided I will give you an assignment. And if you are willing, fulfill the assignment. As soon as you finish the assignment, you will go home. Are you ready?" I was young, not experienced enough. Today I would ask what it is first. But then I jumped in and said, "Yes, sir, I am ready." And he said, "Well, don't worry. It's an easy assignment. Since you are a medical specialist, we have here a sick soldier, a young soldier, who just came to serve, but he couldn't tolerate it, and he tried to run away. But it's winter, very cold, and his legs were frozen. They captured him, brought him back, and now for the attempt to run away, they had to bring him to a military tribunal. But the chief military officer told me, we decided to be merciful to this sick soldier, we decided not to bring him to a military tribunal, but to send him to a peninsula farther away into the north from where he will never run away, and let him just finish his service and go home. Now, your assignment, he says, take the soldier, bring him to the city of Arkhangelsk, to the airport, put him in the plane that will fly to this peninsula. It's a small plane, and as soon as the plane departs, come back and you will get your release paper. Well, I thought it is very easy, and I didn't know what probably my chief knew already. So I took the soldier. He was very happy that he escaped the prison, and so I brought him to the airport, and as soon as we entered in the airport, we came to the information desk and we asked a question. When is the plane going to our peninsula, to our place? And the lady looked at me very strange, said, don't you know? There is a snowstorm season. Planes are not flying now. Well, I had to return back to the unit, and it's very interesting. As soon as I was entering the gates of our military unit, all my 12 friends were already with the suitcases, with some military officers on a truck driving out to the train station going home. And they were jumping and shouting, Artur, bye, you know, and something came to my throat. I couldn't say a word because I also wanted to go home. And I entered, and the chief military officer saw me, and he said, Artur, have you fulfilled your assignment? And I told him, how could I fulfill? You know, there's a snowstorm, planes are not flying. And you know what he told me? Well, he said to me, I don't understand. If you really have a heavenly Father, send him a telegram, ask him for half an hour over, you know, moving the snow clouds. And the plane will start and you will go home. I see no problem. And he turned away and went.
Okay.
So I decided, you know, the Lord sometimes is in those difficulties is even much closer than we think. Somehow he impressed me to turn around and return back to the airport. So I turned around, came to the airport, and now as we were entering the entrance of the airport with this sick soldier, we heard an announcement, boarding of the plane to the exact location I needed to send this guy. I immediately checked him in, and I ran to, you know, make it to the last bus returning to my unit. So at midnight, I returned, and it happened that my chief military officer was on duty this night. I found him, I saluted him, and I reported, your assignment is fulfilled, sir. You know, and when he saw that, he was speechless. He said, what? I said, yes, all is done, the soldier is gone. He looked to me, and he said, well, I told you, you've got to pray. Come in the morning, you will get your papers, he said. So it was Tuesday night, midnight. Wednesday morning, very early, I came, and he gave me the release papers. I looked at the release papers, and they were already all signed. What happened was that there was an elderly lady working in the unit, and when she discovered that all the papers have been given but mine not, she decided to go herself and sign it for me. And so she signed everything. And when he saw everything he signed, he gave me the final papers. I went immediately to the same airport, and I discovered that there are only 3 flights to my hometown during the week. And Wednesday was one day, and in the afternoon there was a flight to my hometown, and there was a free seat. So I bought the ticket, and in the evening, very late, my family, the youth from our church were already receiving me in the airport, while my 12 friends were still in the train going from Arkhangelsk to Moscow, because they would not allow them to go home immediately, because the officers were scared. Usually there was a practice when soldiers finish their military service, they go out, you know, change their dress, they drink alcohol, and then in the night come back, and when the officers go home, they beat them up, all those who treated them not well. And so in order not to experience it, they gathered them all together without giving them the very, very final documents, and 2 officers would go with them in a train to Moscow. And it takes a couple of days. And in Moscow, they would quickly give them the documents, and then everyone could go to the airport and fly home. And so while I was already home, my friends were still in the train traveling to Moscow. So the Lord made me to be first at home. So actually, I could tell you many more stories, but it really shows you that the Lord has shown His hand, and He's guided me, directed me, and shown that He is alive, and He is able to turn problems into blessings. And I would encourage every young person, you know, sometimes it looks, well, religion is something for old people and so on, but in reality, religion, God, Jesus, is here for young people to help them, to guide them, to bless them, and to make their life full of meaning and blessing.
Praise the Lord. We are happy for your testimony. You were 19 or so, and you've been through difficult times. So Romans 8, verse 28 is the key word for this episode. All things work for the benefit of the children of God.
Everything works out together for good.
Together, even if it's difficult.
Exactly.
On the path. Elder Stele, thank you for your time, for your testimony. We will invite you next time to ask you some things about difficult biblical passages. Until next time, may God bless you, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Blessings to you.
În urma acestor experiențe, nu putem decât să lăudăm pe Dumnezeu că își ține copiii Lui în brațele sale puternice. Vedem că Dumnezeu are planurile Lui și pe lângă binele nostru, El urmărește și binele altora. Ce vreau să vă spun din experiența fratelui Artur Stele este că un alt motiv pentru care a fost detașat atât de departe de locuința părintească, într-o zonă unde nu avea sprijin din partea nimănui. Un alt motiv a fost, pe lângă cel de maturizare personală, a fost de unificare a credincioșilor, pentru că în perioada aceea, adventiștii din zona aceea s-au grupat în două tabere, unii care se considerau conservatori și care considerau pe ceilalți prea liberali. Iar Artur Stele făcea parte din a doua tabără. Însă mergând acolo s-a întâlnit cu un lider spiritual, cu un pastor al taberei conservatorilor și când s-a uitat la el și l-a văzut piele și os, pentru că n-a vrut să se spurce cu o mâncare necurată, când a văzut că el a acceptat să meargă atât de departe de părinți la capătul lumii, deși putea să meargă mai aproape, dar să calce sabatul zilei a șaptea, și-a dat seama că el, familia lui, tatălui Artur Stele era pastor, nu sunt liberali, ci sunt credincioși lui Dumnezeu. Și acela a fost momentul de la care unitatea între cele două tabere s-a creat și a fost, după voia lui Dumnezeu, o bucurie pe termen lung pentru mai mulți credincioși. Împlinirea versetului din Romani 8:28 ne este nouă și bucurie în retrospectivă, cât și siguranță în momente grele. Știm că toate lucrurile lucrează împreună spre binele celor ce îl iubesc pe Dumnezeu. Prin urmare, stimate privitor, te îndemn în numele Domnului să-L crezi pe cuvânt și să-L asculți în toate. Emisiunea este la final. Le puteți urmări pe toate episoadele în cadrul site-ului proiectm.ro. Sunt Cristi Trenchea și din studioul Conferinței Moldova vă doresc o viață plină de esență spirituală. Numai bine!